Common Council of the City of Connersville is now in session. Please rise. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Diana Phillips.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everyone would please silence their phones, we'll have our invocation by Reverend Frank Oakland.
Let's pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this day, for all the work that's been done during this day, and for the work that continues. We pray for this council who've been assembled this evening. We pray for wisdom as they go through their agenda and the decisions that need to be made. We pray, God, for your blessing upon them. We pray for those who are here to observe and to participate. We ask a blessing upon them as well. We lift up our mayor and all those on this council. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Please, everyone, silence their phones, please. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. We'll go ahead and have roll call.
Councilman Frank.
Here.
Councilman Bishop.
Present.
Councilman Nolly.
Here.
Councilwoman Montgomery.
Present.
Councilwoman Phillips.
Present.
Sorry.
Councilman Nutty.
Present.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Councilwoman Durham.
Present. I forgot that.
Okay, we have enough for a quorum tonight. You have the minutes of the meeting of December 3rd. Is there any additions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to pass as presented.
So moved. Second.
You have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Go on down to new business. Shirley?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you this evening. I said, this is the fourth group. I've spoken to the commissioners and the county council and the board of works, and now maybe you're the toughest group yet because you're the most knowledgeable and have had the opportunity to read about it in the paper and on Facebook and a lot of other places. So anyhow, I'd like to ask you, what's it worth to Fayette County and to Connersville to have the Kmart property for a community center with recreational facilities and space for the non-traditional education that can be fostered in and around this valuable property? I'm thinking about ag science, drone technology for field scouting, education for future farmers on marketing in today's electronic trading environment. How about a showcase for alternative energy and alternative fuels? I am not looking for another government property in this community. Instead, what about a private-public partnership? And what about a building that can bring in revenue to help support and pay the bills, and in return provide space for recreation and education? And what about a community gathering place for a meeting and greeting? Someplace where you don't have to worry about who's going to pay the bill so that we can meet there. I spoke with a gentleman tonight who works with basketball teams, and he's wanting to get on board and help in any way he can because he takes kids out of town. And I can speak for all of the traveling softball, basketball, baseball, and everything else leagues so that kids can go and play sports. What if we could provide more of an opportunity similar to like the Golay Center, but you know, like the old Brigham Street basketball? And I am delighted with the Lynch family making basketball and pickleball available downtown for the community, and I applaud what they have done to help open that facility again. So I'm just asking, what if we could make it even larger and more so up at the north end of town? Perhaps a family, maybe like the Golay family in Cambridge City, would step forward and provide for the future of this community and recreation center through the Fayette County Foundation. Many, many forward-thinking families in this community for over 30 years have donated to establish a funding stream for worthy community projects. I can't think of a more worthy community project. Perhaps someone could have their name associated with this building, like the Golay Center, the Golay Community Center. And in particular, I'm thinking about a portion of this, the Kunkel Fieldhouse. That ground belonged to the Kunkel family for many years. They sold the first 14 acres to the Fair Board many, many, many years ago. I don't even know how many years ago. And then Josh and Albert, worked how many years at Kunkel's Drive-In? How many people have wonderful memories of Kunkel's Drive-In and the cruise-ins today? So, you know, that's just some idea. If we turn the people loose in this community and let them be creative and figure out ways we can make this happen. So, I want to address a little bit, a couple things about the tax revenue that would happen if, in fact, we're so fortunate to have a not-for-profit accept this property. And Gary Naylor asked the question, and Jane Downard answered it. It was a little over $37,000 a year tax revenue to the county. And if, however, the owner were to decide to tear the property down, and Dan will tell you that he's been trying to convince them not to do that, and we keep getting little reprieves, but he's anxious to do something. He's tired of paying the $18,000 a year stormwater fees. And so several years ago, Dan and I originally talked about this. The Fair Board is they're the obvious people that need to buy that property. And they talked about it and looked about it, and I promoted it with the Fair Board. And I am still promoting it. And when I checked in on it a couple months ago with Dan, well, they just can't come up with a way to pay the $18,000 a year stormwater fees. And Dan even wrote that number on his whiteboard for me because I asked him for sure what the number was. And said, okay, I'll go to work again. And I have been working ever since, and that was probably early October. And I met several times with the Fair Board around their table, and you know, they're just a small group who provide a wonderful service to this community every year. The free fare. Doesn't cost anything for admission, doesn't cost anything for parking. You can just come and have a great time. And we need more. They need more space, and they'd like to have some of the space. But they, again, can't take on the responsibility of that building. But I believe that we can come up with a plan. And if I spoke with Anna Dungan back early on after Dan fired me up again about my idea was, what if, could the city and the county, or could the foundation come up with a matching $100,000? Similar to what they did with the Roberts Park pool, when we needed the pool repairs. And so the foundation offered $100,000, and I think the city and county came together with an idea, and I think we're using edit funds to this day to help pay for that pool. And what a great thing, because the community has had the use of that wonderful pool now for how many years? 10 years? I lose track of time in the continuum.
Max Ellison was mayor when it was built.
The older I get, the farther away
Time frame.
the time frame is hard to remember. But anyhow, so I asked Anna, but Friday I had a meeting with Anna, and she's going to talk to her board this week about, could the foundation accept this property if it were so fortunate to negotiate with the owner. Could they accept that? And then I had to compliment the paper, because it's great to read the paper these days. And yes, there's still bad news in the paper, but there's a lot of good news in Fayette County and in Connersville, and it's good to read about it in the paper or online, however you get that. And there was a wonderful article about the Lilly Foundation making available $500,000 to Fayette County Foundation if we could get matching funds. So, also as a provision, and in the paper Sunday, yesterday, the thumbs up and thumbs down. Is that not a wonderful article? You can get a synopsis of everything that went on in the week, whether it's good or bad, in that Sunday edition of the paper. So, great idea. And that it is possible, if people donate to this Impact Foundation program, that Lilly would match it 2-to-1. So can you just imagine if, and I think there's a $500,000 limit, but what Fayette County could get, but if this property were to qualify to donate to the foundation, so they'll bring $500,000 to this community, and some of which might help fix this building so that we could put in a community and recreation center. Anyhow, so I'm hoping that it'll be a favorable board meeting, and we'll learn that. Did I mention about the $37,000? Even if they tore the building down, just the asphalt alone on the property. So the land value is $838,000. The paving is another $69,000. So if they tear the building down, the county would still get $27,000, roughly, every year. However, if some of those farmers up there at the Fayette County Fair were to bring in their backhoes and take out some of that asphalt, I think Brad would tell you that most we could get forgiven would be about half. There would still be a $750 a month storm sewer. Well, if we were fortunate enough to be able to develop that property, this group that accepts it, the foundation, and whatever kind of an organization comes up for this public-private, then they could agree to put in the retention pond that would allow us to reduce the price by half. And then they could also agree to help pay the difference, what's the remainder, the $750. And I think I failed to ask the Board of Works this morning, but I would ask for an 18-month moratorium on the storm, water, and utility bills until such time as we could get a paying property owner or put people in the building, get it remodeled enough and safe enough. Troy Tipton, Bill McDaniel, and Troy invited the fire marshal from the state down, and we did a tour of that last Monday, a week ago, today, and discovered that water was still under pressure under there and got it shut off, I hope, so there's no danger of taking out that riser for the sprinkler system. Okay, I digress. Back to my program here. To those that say, tear the building down, and I understand why people would think that, but my answer to that is the current owner is threatening to do that, and first we had until spring, and then he said 30 days, and he's just anxious to get out from under. And you can't really blame him. But how many developers or business buyers have stepped forward on that property since Kmart closed? Not a whole lot. Although Dan does have some, activity going on. Yes, it needs a new roof. And the mold needs to be cleaned out. But there are companies that do that all the time. There is no asbestos. Asbestos is a serious cleanup problem. Mold is not. You scrub mold off all the time. There is no trichloroethylene contamination in that area. And I would ask all of the taxpayers, do you have any idea how much it would take to put the structural steel columns, roof, and the concrete floor back in a 93,000 square foot property? I tell you, my husband and I just recently put up a shop, a pole barn, a chemical storage facility, and concrete and building materials are not inexpensive. It's very expensive, and if you have all of that, you have the perfect good shell, we should go for it. I think it's a great place to put solar panels. And maybe that solar panel person will help us pay for the new roof that it's going to need. But the steel structure is in good shape and the floor is in good shape. Before I ask for questions, I want to talk about the educational, because I haven't really addressed Gabe. I think I left Gabe a message somewhere along the line. Because Becky and the Extension Office, Becky Marble, and what they're doing with the Food Council. And I do want to correct one thing in your presentation on my starting thing. The Fayette County Women's Voices was started in 2015. And this is really an outgoing of that. Those Fayette County Women's Voices started in 2015. And there have been huge programs ever since to ask, what does this community need and want? How do we get the kids coming back to this community instead of going off to school and then never coming back? What can we offer for their families, for their children, a place for their kids to play? Anyhow, an education, the farmers market, opportunity for people to learn. I know there's this community kitchen that they've been talking about. I think there'd be space in there for that. And also, Gabe Nobby has done wonderful things out at the high school with his greenhouse. What about if we take that 13,000 square foot greenhouse, or the garden area is 3,600 and the 13,000 square foot warehouse, and we start teaching people how to grow patio container gardens. You know that thing? You teach a man to fish, or a woman to fish, or how to grow food on their patio, and they feed themselves forever. And we need some of that non-traditional education and a place for it to go on. And I think we can do that up there as well. Anybody have any questions? You can tell I'm passionate about this. And
We can tell, Shirley.
I'm not sure just what it'll look like. Maybe it'll look like some edit funds that the county and city could go together on in future years. I don't know. But again, I'm not looking for another government building. This needs to be, get back a piece of it on the tax rolls so we can pay our way for the utilities and for, but not only that, so we can have a program for the kids and the adults and everybody else.
How
Yes.
much money are you talking about just to renovate the building to where it's livable inside?
Well, on my to-do list,
Did I miss it?
I have a to-do list in there. Someone gave me a conservative estimate on a new roof of $400,000.
No, I was gonna say,
I've heard a quote for between $200,000 and $300,000 if they were to demolish the building. Nothing is inexpensive these days, but Tim O'Rourke and HPH folks, Tim was in there and said the steel, you know, there's a couple of leaks that they have to address, but the steel is good. The high school has been able to put new efficient roofs on many of their buildings. And so Tim is helping to help the community write the specifications for this new roof. And Bruce Tarkington has given us the drawings, and HPH has them. And we're working on laying it out with what the Fayette County Free Fair would like to have so that we can add on to their camping space and maybe add some outdoor recreation, pickleball, tennis courts, etc. in that area. I lost my track there. But anyhow, Tim's helping us to specify the new roof that would be well insulated. And I'm not going to spend the money to get the prints printed, but I have 4 companies in names that I want to send a request for quote. But really, there isn't any point in doing that. I'll be all ready to do it the minute that we can work out an arrangement with Bruce and the Redstone Properties.
But the park board is saying no, or are they just thinking about it, or?
We're not talking to the park board, we're talking to the owner, the vice president, and, yeah, he is saying he's waiting for approvals.
But this will fall under the 14 acres once you get it?
No, this is going to be a totally different organization. I
Okay.
spoke with Jesse Foss this afternoon, just this afternoon. I was returning the pickleball net that we borrowed for the pickleball party. I was returning it, and I said, Jesse, how much could you rent a corner of that Kmart property that had highly efficient HVAC and, you know, at least as much space as the Miller Building for wedding reception, graduation parties, other things that the Miller Building does? And would you in turn be able to work with a city-county group that would, Erica Murray, she reserves all the buildings and hands out keys. If you could bring in money for renting that out, how much could you rent? I'm not going to give you her figure because it's an estimate, but I'll let you talk to her when she's in front of you. But she feels like that's something we could do. And then I said you could split the money between the park for managing the rentals and the organization that's going to take on the responsibility of scheduling it. I envision a 5-year plan. And Jesse said, I said, Jesse, remember when you wrote this 5-year plan for the Parks and Recreation? I envision a 5-year plan to renovate the building, to find the funding. I believe the USDA, Michael Dora, he came down when they were talking about doing a rehab facility there. And there was funding there. So there's USDA money, there ag money, the soybean council, the corn council, the alternative energy council. Ag is my life. I grew up on a farm, and I want to see the Fair Board continue with the ground that they'd like. Ted McQuinley and his crew up there, they do a great job. And, you know, he'd watch out over it. And whoever this group, board, whatever, that the foundation, if they accept it, that we could set up, you know, we just need a board that will be looking out for the best interest of the community.
What about the rest of the building? You've covered the roof now. What about the interior part of the building?
Well, the interior part looks pretty good, except I said that we have the drawings, but we don't really have the latest drawings. The drawings that I'm looking at have Ames on the left, a drugstore in the center, and a grocery store on the right. And it's changed a little bit since then. When Troy and I were in there the other day, there's fitting rooms, and it doesn't look quite the same. We're sitting on the aquifer, the best, most beautiful, purest water in the state, and it's best tasting too. And I lived down on Waterloo Road for many, many, many years. I can attest to that. I want to build a geothermal well and put in a highly efficient geothermal system that would be state-of-the-art. Ball State University teaches that. They're probably one of the premier teaching organizations. And not only do they teach it for their architectural school, but they put geothermal in for many of their campus buildings. And geothermal is almost free.
Yeah,
You use the groundwater to heat and cool, and then you return it back. So it doesn't, I mean, I don't want to compete with Connersville Utilities, but I want to have the approval to put that well in there so that we can have that state-of-the-art alternative fuel system in there.
But as of right now,
Ask me to come back in 6 months, and I'll
as
have
of right
this
now,
answer.
you have no solidified financing for all this, correct?
I just got this started in October when Dan gave me a deadline.
Okay, that's fine.
And
just asked a
but I
question.
do have the list of things to do, and I have a resume that I'll hand you. I worked at the Visteon facility for 16 years. I'm a Six Sigma black belt. In addition, I have a certified supply chain professional certification. I know about suppliers, I know about contractors. I put in a lot of major projects at Ford. And I would love to take this project on for the next 5 years to do this for our community. So I'm just asking for support if we can get the building given to us, and
Shirley,
maybe funding.
tell me where I might have missed something. You mentioned that you're not looking for another government building.
No.
You like to see this thing on property tax.
Yes?
But you mentioned Fair Board, Parks Department, other organizations, which all sounds like not-for-profits, which then would be, no property tax. So
Well, you may have all be familiar with a wonderful architect by the name of Steve Alexander. And talk about an out-of-the-box thinker, but he suggested this public-private partnership. And I personally don't have the wherewithal of setting that up. But there are other places doing it, and that's what I'm wanting to propose. And I've asked Anna for help with that for the foundation. I'm willing to take on the project to renovate the building, and I will also take on helping to find some of the funding. I'd like to draft a lot of the grant writers in this community for whatever their particular pet project is, to help them get the funding to put it in. But I don't have the proposal, but Mike, if you'll invite me back in a couple of months, I will give you a pro forma balance sheet with estimates on how we can do it.
Thank you.
I think that you could, in fact, get lots of support, lots of funding to get this thing started. It's the long-term support.
The funding stream from the foundation. And there are, if you look at the foundation's literature that they send out every year at this time of year, asking for a donation to help fund these long terms. We have a couple of them for church, I think 3 for our church, and I know a lot of the churches have them, that perpetually give money back to St. Gabriel School, St. Gabriel Church, Methodist Church, a lot of the churches. And a lot of people, when they pass, their families want to do something in their memory and in their honor. And I believe that there are farmers and there are retired people in this community that want to support something like that in this community. And that will perpetually fund it, just like the Golay Center. You know, how many people have learned to swim up at the Golay Center? Lots. And you can play pickleball, basketball, volleyball, a lot of the things that, quite frankly, you can't walk in anywhere in Connersville or Fayette County to do.
You mentioned a lot of positive things, which is a good and forward thinking. What might be some things we need to think about that might not be positive? I know you mentioned condition of the building, you know, the roof, the mold, you know, fixing the roof up, the building up itself, or, and you're going to have to compartmentalize, there you go, for different events and functions, and certainly the parking lot is not in a condition to use as a good parking lot.
Mr. Durham back there has been involved in some of the discussions since early October, right? And we talked about the JCs and the racing, and I've asked him in particular if he would be one of our partners, our not-for-profit partners, in helping to develop the use of this. And maybe we take some of the asphalt out and turn it into a nice race track outside, or maybe inside. And I don't know. David, I haven't really had time. There are some, you know, negative. The first thing is there's a lot of negativity on Facebook. And I haven't really had an opportunity to address some of the questions, but I would like to address some of them. I don't have all the answers. I have a lot more questions today than I did several months ago. And I applaud Dan. He gave me Bruce's number, and I've been emailing back and forth with Bruce. He gave me permission to have a key, and he forwarded the drawings, and in good faith, we've been going back and forth. I gave him the names of 3 appraisers so that he could get an estimate or get an appraised value so that they can donate it. And this is the last group that I'm coming to talk with like this, but I'd be happy to come one-on-one to speak with anybody, and I'd invite, my phone number's on there, so call me back for any other questions.
What's been your response to those other groups?
Well, it scares a lot of people. Maybe I'm just not, I'm too stupid or something to be scared. But like I said, I've done a lot of large projects at Ford. I've had so much fun putting in cost-saving projects at Ford. You couldn't even get a project approved. Mike can probably tell you. You couldn't even get a project approved up there if it didn't return the money in like
5 years.
less than a couple years.
Yeah.
And I got some really nice big projects approved. And it's just fun doing it. It's fun turning something that no longer works into something that works. And that's what we have an opportunity. And I said this morning, Patsy Miller, John Howard Miller. Patsy donated, what, over $1 million. And we have a Miller Center. And it's such a wonderful thing, addition to this community. I believe that the Kumpel Fieldhouse and our Community Recreation Center can be just a shining star for the county at the other end of the park. And I'd like to help do it. Ted McQuinley, I invited him, but he's got lambs, having lambs, and he could not come. But Ted has been working with Bruce since Dan put the 2 of them together several years ago. And there are some areas that they definitely want. And I asked Ted this morning if he would give me a layout of the campground area so that I can figure out where's the best place to put pickleball and tennis courts, lighted pickleball and tennis courts on that end of the park. So I talk to people as I run into them, and they ask me about it, and I share my ideas. And you know, what we figure out today won't be what it'll be 20 years from now. It'll have to evolve.
I think the location would be ideal.
I think so too.
An extension, if you're just talking location, it would be ideal as an extension of the parks.
Anything we would do to enhance that area would help the camping area. You know, Ted told me that he gets calls all the time. He wants somebody wants 6 campsites together for the fair and for other times. You know, that's growing all the time. And that's a good positive thing for the community. Brings
Well, I would-
tourism.
I think a lot of people, a lot of organizations, I assume everybody have on this list of people you've talked to and worked with, and they're all in support, financially supported.
Not everybody, I have not talked to everybody on that list. Those are some ideas of people. For the most
Okay.
part, I have talked to them. But some of the ideas, Kenny Burgess has helped me with drawings. Carl Wilm at the Bird Sanctuary, I don't know him, but he said that he's part of the park board now. I have talked to Sharon McQueen and Jesse on the park board about how, again, we could have a county-city relationship that would be win-win.
But just to be fair with you, I love your optimism. I would love to see something positive and for the benefit of the residents of Connersville and Fayette County going real well. But I'm
Realistic.
very cautious, just because I've been in organizations before where you get a lot of people. If something is short-lived, you can get a lot of people to help and help fund it. But anything that's ongoing,
Yes.
it just gets lower and lower until it's
Hard to-
difficult.
Hard to find volunteers.
Yeah.
But I think if you add up all the different groups, there's a lot of volunteers in a lot of different groups. And Gabe has a new class every year of freshmen that he gets involved in that greenhouse and teaches them how to, the perfect farming practice. Plant the seeds and let it grow and sell it. What kind of a business model? We need to teach everybody in the country that. So I think we can.
Yeah. Other than just keeping us informed,
Mm-hmm.
what are you asking from us, and what is the timeline now?
Dan, do you want to talk about the timeline?
I'll be glad to.
I'll get off the
I
podium.
want to ask you a question first, Shirley.
Okay.
You spoke about talking with Jessica and about different rentals and here and there. So what do you look at as far as management down the line?
Well, again, I think we'd have to have a board, like the park board. There would have to be a board that has new people elected every year to oversee the operations. But the foundation would, if the foundation were to agree to accept it, then I think they would be involved in setting up that board. I don't envision it being the same board, but a board that would, there's probably a board up at the Golay Center.
That sounds like a not-for-profit. That's a concern.
Pardon?
That sounds like a
Not-for-profit.
not-for-profit, which is a concern of mine.
Well, is the foundation a not-for-profit? But they're in a building that probably pays taxes, I'll bet. I don't know. I'd have to
If
look.
someone owns the building and they rent from it,
Yeah. Right.
Well, I'm going to go into what you said about somewhat skeptical, just
Okay.
based on my time here on the council when we redid the Roberts Building. You know, we got into it for, nearly double of what we initially had.
What it took
Okay.
to do, it took twice as many dollars.
Yes.
Even with the high school involvement and what have
Yes.
you. I will tell you that I was contacted by a realtor that's interested in leasing space, 25,000 square feet of space. And that's for profit. And again, I think Steve Alexander could maybe help us if we could come up with a program to allow him to come up with, he knows the rules. He does this for businesses and counties all over the state. But I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, it's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna take the support of the county and the city jointly to make it happen. And a lot of not-for-profit groups.
Have you addressed the county yet?
Yes, yes.
You said you did.
I spoke with the commissioners and the county council on December the 4th.
Well, it's one thing to get it going and get it up, and everybody's in for that, like you said. But then it's the maintenance
Well-
and the ongoing.
Right. And like so I say, you need the public-private partnership, and you need to have it, you need to have a highly efficient building that can do it in. Ted McQuinley will tell you, when asked one of the negatives, the expo hall doesn't break even because it takes more to heat and cool than what they get revenue in. But I don't think they ever built the expo hall with the idea that they would have wedding receptions in there. And nor did they build Kmart with the idea they'd have wedding receptions in there. But if you build it, if you repair it or fix it with the idea that you're gonna make it as multi-purpose as you can and that you wanna get all the revenue in you can, I like to say, I don't have all the answers, I don't even have all the questions, but I appreciate your adding to the questions. We'll work to find the answers.
Okay. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
Dan, did you have a timeline?
Are you getting ready to call the Wayzata thing there too, Harold?
Well, if we're done with Shirley, yes, but if not, if you want to speak to
Well, I'd like
Shirley.
to speak to the Shirley thing here. if
Okay.
we could First. I've been helping with the Wayzata, I've been helping with the Kmart building just about as soon as I got hired, which was March of 14. And I've been taking people up to that building and showing it to them and trying to generate interest on anything. I mean, anything. We've had the biker church look at it. They wanted it as to use as a new facility for themselves. That didn't work out. I met with the demolition guy early this year, came down from Muncie. Sawyer is his name. In fact, I bought him breakfast the morning he came to Connersville, and we chatted about it. So he sent that bid in to Bruce Tamarkin that Shirley has talked about, and I called Bruce up and I said, "What gives? You gonna knock the building down?" He goes, "Yeah, we're getting the bids and we're getting ready to do that." I said, "Could you postpone that because I've got an interested party?" And at that time I did. He said, "Yeah, be glad to." At that time, the thought of him giving the building as a gift was floated, and he agreed to postpone it. And then we chatted throughout this year. I think I've postponed demolition of that building 4 or 5 times since early this year. It was either late February or early March when I met with Sawyer, the demolition people from Muncie. So during the course of all the commotion about the Kmart building and what could be done with it, and Shirley, I don't know what time we started chatting, sometime this year.
Well, in October this year, but we first chatted on it in, 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
2016.
Yeah, it's been on again, off again. As people are interested, sure, let's put you in there. We're all ears and we're ready to do something. Shirley mentioned the architect in Indianapolis, Steve Alexander, the guy who did the 6-story pattern mill and converted that, did a beautiful job. He's the same guy that did the John Connor statue just across the way. He's a great guy. He likes Connersville. He's willing to help.
He's also working with the River's Edge Committee.
Yeah. So he likes our community. I asked him if he could possibly come up with something to go in that building way back, and nothing happened. Then I said, "Hey, back again." This is a couple years later. The guy's getting ready to demo it. They'll give it to you. Do you want to come in and do something? Because we can do this, really, pretty easy. He would like to not spend the money on demo and just wash his hands with it and gift it. Wouldn't do it. The Fair Board, I thought, for probably about a month, when we were meeting on and off with them, was going to do it. They want access along the back of the old Kmart building to 24th Street. That's one of their big motivators to have that. In the course of that, we also met with a developer from Indianapolis who would be willing to facilitate the Fair Board having that access if he could get the property and develop it in apartments. At the end of the day, I've got so much heat over taking buildings off the tax rolls. I sympathize with Brother Nutty here. I'm with you. I don't want to see another building come off the tax rolls. In fact, I'd really rather work hard to make sure we put them on and keep them on the tax rolls. And that's what we're doing with the D&M building right now. We're working on a way to alleviate the 650,000 square feet off of our books as a nonprofit and onto the tax rolls. We hope to have that done in 19. So I guess to put a period at the end of this thing, I really don't care how it gets developed. It just needs to be commercialized and improved. It is an eyesore now. Kmart parking is offensive to all of our car dealers in Connersville who pay dealer insurance and dealer tags and all the other things. It is highly offensive to them. Bruce Tamarkin gets it. He's the one who asked that the lot be cleared. I think there's still a couple stragglers up there that if you're watching this tonight, please move your vehicles off the lot, please. If you're watching, the owner doesn't want those cars up there. He's okay with the Lions Club being there. They get permission to do their Christmas thing. But as long as it's commercialized somehow, in some fashion, Connersville wins. Our community wins. And whether it's with Shirley's youth center, or whether it's apartments, or whatever it happens to be, but something's going to have to happen pretty quick because he's at the end of his rope. He's ready to demolish it, save that 10,000. Probably it wouldn't take much talking for him to get rid of the concrete and some of the asphalt to try to diminish his stormwater bill each month.
So what is that timeline?
It keeps changing with enthusiasm. When Shirley talks to him, he's willing to kind of push it back because that's a huge bill. He has to fork out a lot of money for the demo. So he's been willing to just keep this slow drip of money going out for stormwater and insurance and water bill and all that kind of stuff, rather than spend the big money to get it demolished. And then when he hears of a nonprofit that is willing to receive it as a gift, he's very interested because that would stop his bleeding right there. So he is ready to demolish, I'll stop and wait. I'm ready to demolish, I'll stop. And this has gone on about 5 cycles since early this year, and we're at the end of 18. So, and he's also found out that he can demolish in the winter just as easy as he can any other time of year. So there's no issue on weather or time of year. Any other questions on that? Concerning Wayzata, we have had 2 very fruitful meetings today, one with the Board of Works and one with the Redevelopment Commission. You'll recall that there were 3 groups that were put together to make the initial contract and put it together, and that was those 3 groups, the Board of Works, City Council, and the Redevelopment Commission. So the mayor called a meeting about a week ago, I believe it was. He asked for 2 individuals from each of those 3 groups to attend a discussion meeting, just purely information, where Wayzata came, Andy and 2 or 3 of his individuals. And by the way, let me introduce to the public, this is, if you want to stand, this is Andy Jong, and then this is Ben Houston, and this is Dan Savage. Dan Savage is the plant manager. Ben is the manager over business, and Andy is the owner. So they're here tonight to answer any questions that you might have. The two groups that have met today have made motions and agreed unanimously to extend their agreement 27 months, as I recall, with some stipulations. Stipulations being that the stormwater discount would go away. They would be paying the full price on stormwater, and that there would also be some requirements for giving information on employee headcount and the retention of those employees and their longevity with the company. Did I get that right? Yes. Okay. So I'm speaking on Andy's behalf, but Andy can speak very well to any questions you might have, council. Now's the time to ask if there are any questions.
Okay, so if any council members got any questions for Andy or Ben or Dan, we'll go ahead and do it now.
I don't have a question, but I have a concern. I would certainly like to see the place cleaned up. As far as the landscaping, the exterior of the building, because I mean, that's the main artery coming into the city and leaving the city, and you know, a little bit of paint goes a long way. And the parking lot is atrocious. I think you sprayed it maybe this summer, did you?
Yep.
But if we could splash some paint on those water towers out there where the powerhouse used to be, and maybe just clean up down the southern part of the building there, would be a heck of an improvement.
And we heard about that since last Monday till today multiple times.
They've been.
I'll make sure that we get that cleaned up.
I'm a sticker on housekeeping because that's all they drilled into us.
I second your motion.
And then the other thing maybe this is not the place to talk about it, but I know and understand that you're having a problem getting employees. Is that not correct? I mean, getting hourly workers to come and stay with you?
To stay with us, yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge.
So do you have any kind of a timeline about what you're going to do about that, how you're going to revisit it, or are you considering raising the rates, or what are you going to do?
So we are going to get some assistance with getting local wages to make sure we are competitive. We believe we are based on what was provided early on. Another thing that we've started is we actually do a new hire a gathering every week. Mm-hmm. So we talk to the new people and try to understand what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong, to try to maintain people staying there. And we've seen some benefits to that. You know, there's a lot of people, for whatever reason, that come in and work for a week, 2 weeks, get their check, and we just don't ever see them again. And those people, and I would be open to advice as to how we retain them, but
that's not just in Connersville, so don't feel lonely.
No,
That's
it
not
happens
a
everywhere.
unique, that's not a unique problem.
But that is really part of our biggest concern is they come, you know, we invest a couple weeks into them and they take off.
Certainly.
So it's a continuous cycle for us. Every day we try to bring more people in.
Have you ever thought about, just as something to think about in the back of your mind, have you ever thought about having a job fair?
We actually have had a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people have you had show up?
One of them was 127 and one was within that same amount of people.
And how many people did you get out of them to hire?
Surprisingly low numbers.
That's what I figured.
15, 20. It was a very low percentage. The job fair was great to get people in the door and to meet them, but when it came time to make them an offer, we never saw them again.
Do you have the business to expand if you did have the manpower to do it with? Potential?
I'm going to let Andy talk on the sales side of the business.
The potential to expand, do you think you have it?
So we are primarily working on the front end, on the demand generation side of it, and then we're growing roughly about 25-30% a year. And in the back end is Dan and my VP of operation, Randy, is working on the back end. So far, they've been asking more order, so that means the factory capacity is keeping up.
Okay.
And usually we have seasonality. So typically, is the first 4 months of the year is the time that the industry will annually with increase of demand. And then the rest of the year, we start to stabilize, and then some of the turnover, some attrition. But typically is that if anything is most challenging of the time is the first 3-4 months of the year.
Thank you for answering those questions. I appreciate it. I'm done. Thank you for allowing me the time.
One of the things I think is interesting to note, and no one has really touched on this, Wayzata also offers about a $6 benefit add-on to each employee. Is that right?
That's
About
correct,
six,
yeah.
about $6 an hour for the benefits, 401k, hospitalization, dental, all that sort of stuff. And I don't know that anyone really keys on that. That's an important part of this that you may not be able to put it in your pocket, but it's pretty valuable.
Fringe is always valuable.
In one of our previous discussions, we were interested in knowing how many employees you had. Are they full-time or part-time? How long they've been employed?
Correct.
And so forth. And do I understand at the Board of Works meeting today that was addressed, and
Yes.
what came out of that?
So I've already provided that for current. It's not been publicly distributed, but that's one of our things that we need to provide every year going forward, so.
Okay, good.
I was always told if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You probably have the same problem that I've heard other employers have, is that, people on assistance are required to job hunt. That means that they just go and try to get their numbers, and then they don't go any farther. Do you have that problem?
I imagine that some of it is that.
I mean, because it can be expensive also doing drug testing on them
Correct.
and such, because I've heard,
And if-
honestly, people quit doing it because it cost them too much.
And if you just look at the amount of people at the job fair that came, and then when we went to make offers, you know, we never heard back from them, or whatever the case may be. I gotta believe some of that's true.
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, the system, it's much, even if you get $6 in fringe, you know, sitting home on your butt's easier than fringe. I mean,
That's right,
um,
unfortunately.
yeah. Have you tried going outside of Connersville, looking for?
So we've done radio ads on, what is it?
Kicks 96.
We've had newspaper ads, we've done Facebook promotions, we've tried a lot of different avenues to try to get people.
On your billboards, I mean, it's very visible here in town, here in.
Well, unfortunately, it's a different day and age, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your Vistion workers, your Bilco workers, that
DNM,
mindset's
yeah.
not there.
Yeah.
We wish you best, though.
Thank you.
Okay.
I believe in being in manufacturing for 30 years like I was. Wages is everything, and fringe, to Dan's point. And I suggest that maybe you attack that as best you can. I feel for you. I mean, you're not the only business that's struggling because of that.
Right. Thank you.
I
They
would do
did
anything
meet
I
with
can do to
the-
help you.
They did meet with the Board of Works today. I didn't know if it was a need for anybody from Board of Works to mention the conversation of whether they look forward to it or
Jim?
not.
Jim's the one that made the motion to,
Hi, Jim Barrett, Board of Works. What we did today was make a motion to, we're concerned, and he addressed that the other day in a meeting about communications. One of the concerns is that we want to be, at the city council, aware from this point on what their employment level is, what their retention rate is, permanent employees, whatever. So they've committed to do this yearly to both Board of Works, City Council. The other concern we had was the stormwater, and the stormwater will end at the end of this year, and they'll start paying the full rate. Because, you know, as far as I'm concerned with stormwater, we have a huge amount of projects that has to be completed under this mandate we're under for the separation of storm water and sewage. And, you know, I don't think it's fair to the ratepayers of the community to extend this any farther. So that was our motion today. Okay?
and it
Uh,
passed.
questions?
And it passed.
And it passed.
And it-
Yes, unanimously.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the redevelopment commission met at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Jim.
The
And,
rubber stamp.
and they agreed to the same thing. And so now it's up to the council. So is there any more questions for Wazetta or Dan? If not, I'll entertain a motion to,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote on it.
What exactly are we extending?
The 2-year agreement.
Purchase agreement on the building.
2 year.
It would not be 2 years.
27
It would
months.
be
27 months.
27 months, yeah.
Yeah,
27
till
months.
end of March 21.
And then we readdress it again?
In
And
27
we'll be
months.
talking in
necessary.
between.
Hopefully
then.
we'll
Sorry to
make it.
interrupt.
That's all right.
If necessary.
Good question, though.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm sorry, Mayor.
That's all right.
Roll call vote. Councilman Nobby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Phillips?
Yes.
Councilman Nettie?
Yes.
Councilwoman Durham?
Yes.
Councilman Frank?
Yes.
Councilman Bishop?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's been extended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, fellas.
Thank you.
We think your success is our success.
That's right,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Going.
Whatever we can do to help, please come and ask us.
Okay, we're going down
Pleasure
to,
having you guys come in. Thank you.
Thank you.
we'll go on down, Diana. We're going down to item C.
I make a motion that I would propose that we do resolution 2018-79 through 85 as together. And also pending ordinance, while we're here, pending ordinance 3478 through 3488. They're end of the year.
Well, this is the orders, we're gonna have to do we're gonna have to do 2 readings on them.
Well, we can do, I'll make the motion that we do the resolutions together.
Okay.
I'll second that if you don't have a second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to pass resolutions 2018-79 through 2018-85, and Rosemary, you might wanna explain what that is.
2018-79 is a reimbursement to the police telephone. 2018-80 is a transfer from general to first aid, non-reverting. 2018-81 is a transfer from community events to River's Edge, non-reverting. 2018-82 is a reimbursement police telephone, first aid uniforms, and park telephone. 2018-83 is a transfer from park to restricted beautification. Resolution 2018-84 is a transfer from park to restricted River's Edge. Resolution 2018-85 is a transfer from park to restricted trails.
Okay, anybody got more questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to pass.
Here, I got a motion.
Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
got a
Second.
What
motion
is
and a
the
second.
River's Edge? What does, like the 6,500 and?
The River's Edge is to cover Phase 1B. There was additional cost of $30,000 that needed to be moved over to cover it. And we're taking it out of the extra leftover monies from this year's budget.
What is the 30,000? What did that consist of?
Is that engineering or is that a physical work being done?
Engineering has already been paid for. It's the actual the contractor that's doing the work.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll go on down to item J, pending orders 3477. This here's a traffic code. Carol?
Good evening.
Hi, Carol.
We discussed this earlier in the year. I think back in May, I put out a letter saying we were considering taking out a traffic light, asking to take out 7th and Central. However, we'd like to change it to a flasher, yellow, north-south, red, east-west for a couple weeks prior to the removal.
You might want, we have a traffic engineer do this, suggest this. You might want to.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a traffic engineer, but he is our part-time traffic. He takes care of our traffic lights part-time, and this is a review that he did earlier in the year, just trying to get moving on it.
So this is a temporary You're just doing it until you finally.
The
until
flashing
you-
will be 2 weeks, let's say 2 weeks. I'm not sure if she put a date on there or not. But it will turn it to a flasher and then the light itself will be removed at 7th and Central.
Visibility's good. I know there's buildings on either side as you go east and west. Visibility's pretty good.
I believe so. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't see any problems with it.
What was the logic behind it, Carol, just so people know?
According to Mr. Davis, just too many lights downtown.
Yeah,
It's
I
still
agree.
set up for a higher population. We used to have a higher population, just for traffic flow.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
I move we pass pending ordinance 3477 on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, pass pending ordinance 3477 on first reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed on first reading. Is there a motion to suspend the rules
So
and go to
moved.
third and final? We have a motion
Second.
and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We'll move on to third and final.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second to pass third and final. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Do you want to talk about 21st Street?
Carol, was you gonna talk on 21st Street?
I don't think that needed council approval.
Okay,
Or is that just for information? Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, going down to item K.
You looking at me again?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I will propose that we group pending ordinance 3478 through 3488 together.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rosemary, would you like to speak to it? That's all transfers, and what it is just cleaning up things, so,
Just year-end transfers. Pending ordinance 3478 is a transfer within police. Pending ordinance 3479 is a transfer within landfill. 3480, 81, 82, 83 is transfers within the fire budget. Pending ordinance 3484 is a transfer within riverboat. Pending ordinance 3485, 86, 87, and 88 is transfers within MBH.
And just for general knowledge, transfers by resolution, transfers by ordinance is due to the different funds.
Right.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second.
okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed on. Is there a motion to suspend the rules and go to third and final reading?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
You have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll need a motion for third and final.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for third and final to pass pending ordinance 3478 through 3488. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, pending order 3489.
Are there any changes in that from previous?
This is modifying 2018 salary ordinance for the cable. We had taken the clothing allowance out of the budget. We had moved it up to the salary, but we just did not, we forgot to remove
Just
it, that
salary.
section. So this is just correcting.
More of a correction.
Okay. So it's a
It's an
cleanup.
addition, right?
No,
It's
I mean, not
it's
an
just a
addition,
cleanup thing.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept pending ordinance 3489.
Second.
we have a motion second to accept pending orders 3489 on first reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I need a motion to suspend the rules and go to third and final.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to pass pending orders to suspend the rules and go to third and final reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, go on and move on to third and final.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second to pass pending ordinance 3489 on third and final reading. Is there any more discussion? If not, okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, go on down to old business. Is there any old business to come before the council? Where? Oh, Troy. Oh, yeah, I didn't realize.
I'm old, so.
I didn't realize how old he was.
Old.
About a month and a half ago, me and Chris Gattinger came to you and we asked to purchase a used fire truck. We went down and picked it up at the end of November. It's working out real well. We had to rush it right into service because we had a truck break down, but now we've taken it back out of service so we can get all of our stuff on it and get it the way we want it. When I talked to some of you, we mentioned that we wanted to replace another truck. I talked to you and told you I would like to, we was looking at a Pierce, a new truck that was gonna run between 325 to 350. I talked to Brindley Mountain where we purchased the other one and mentioned if they had anything come in, we'd be interested in to let us know. The town of Whitestown, Indiana, traded this truck in. It's got 20,000 miles on it. It's got a lot more options than what we would have purchased if we were looking at a new truck. It's able to pump and roll, which adds to the price quite a bit. It's got what's called a pump panel. It's a real small panel for the pump. And it's been really taken care of. Me and Chris Gattiger and Zach Shank went down we went down on Thursday and drove it back to Alabama. And we were looking at it, and also while we was down there, we looked at I got pictures here. I actually deleted them from my thumb drive. And a newer rescue than what we have. I've only got a couple if you want to pass them down.
What year is that?
That truck's 2011. And then we looked at a rescue truck that has water on it because our truck doesn't carry water. The ability to carry water will help us on our ISO rating. Also, the truck that you know as Rescue 21 is overloaded by almost 2,000 pounds. So we wanted to go with a heavier truck. That truck's four-wheel drive also. So we was able to deal with them, and both those trucks combined will come in between 100 and 125,000 less than the one new truck. Now we realize that we're looking at used, and we have some years on them, but that would get us to where we could get a better plan.
Both of them?
Yeah, both of them together would come in about 100 to 125 less.
How much total?
Yeah, how much total for the two?
235, and we was going to be around with
Both
the.
of them? 235?
Yeah, and that's taking Rescue 21 and trading it also though.
You might tell me, there's how many miles on the
The
rescue?
The rescue truck has 11,000. It came from a department out of Pennsylvania who bought it. They have 11,000 miles on the truck. They have 2,000 people in their town, and they said they just wasn't using the truck. They were using it as a quick attack truck with having some extrication tools on it too. So they decided to just go a different way. And then I talked to Whitestown's chief and their firefighters, and they decided to go with all aerial trucks, like the short type truck, 78-foot ladders. So that's why they got rid of theirs. That truck has only problem it ever had was a pump seal. So it's a pretty good truck.
But it has 20,000 and the rescue truck has 11,000?
So we think we could get a real good service out of both of them, and like I said, save us quite a bit of money and solve all of our problems where we'd like to go into the future with better trucks. So
Troy, what would you think? You said that the fire truck had a lot of extras. That
it has the pump, mainly the pump and roll, and it has a generator on it, which we haven't been putting generators on the last truck. But things like that would boost up the cost of the truck.
Can you explain
To
the
what
pump and
degree?
roll? Oh, sorry.
Pump and rolls, like if we was at the airport and we have something bad happen, we're able to actually roll and squirt water at the same time instead of setting still and spraying water. So right now we don't have that capacity.
What
And
kind of
both these
price
trucks
tag?
would.
What kind of price tag are those extras?
I would say you're looking between 50 and 60. If you look at between the cab and the back of the truck, you got a shorter pump and a different type pump system. I would say you probably look at $50,000-$60,000 for those options. For that
On a
one.
new?
Yeah, on a new one. So, it's actually a pretty neat truck, so. but What we was looking at doing was paying our payment off on the 2012 and then financing in the rear and paying for both the trucks. I think that would get us into the future with
Was that gonna
good
be
trucks.
after the first of the year?
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought.
yeah.
Okay.
But we just had the opportunity to roll with this, so.
These two trucks, it seemed like just all of a sudden we had to have them. So how about in the future? Is there anything coming up that we need to start planning for? Because originally we were going to put 10% back
Right.
for future purchases.
Well,
And
I
that's
wasn't
not gonna
really
happen
involved
this.
with your 10% discussion, but I'll be real honest with you. I'm the only community in the state that has the fastest moving river that doesn't have a boat. So yes, there's things that this community does need that we've been putting off for years. The truck issue's been discussed kind of just hit or miss. We really haven't came to you. What happened was we did our ISO rating, our ISO survey a few months back, and I'd like to leave the department better than what I came in as, and I think I came in pretty good shape. But with each year, you know, we're adding stuff to our trucks. We'd just like to upgrade.
I think what we're talking about is there a replacement schedule so we can schedule these things out?
Well,
have
that's where
planned
we're trying to
expenses.
get you at, instead of having them all due at the same year.
Proactive.
Yeah,
Right.
we're trying to get you where the next chief can come in and say, hey, the 2012 gives us issues every now and then with the mission system. If I was a chief coming in next, I would say let's roll it out of here at 15 years instead of 25 and get it while we still got some worth in it, you know, some value. But yeah, as I actually writing it down, it's just, you know, just hit or miss.
Well, and a lot of these trucks right now, it just happen to be, there they are.
Yeah, it just happened to come available. This
Yeah,
one did.
and so it made it, you know, because with 20,000 and 11,000 mile, those trucks haven't been used a lot.
I understand that. What I'm saying is we just need a schedule so that if we have 5 years, we need to have a truck, we can start putting money ahead and start building a sinking fund for that.
Yeah.
If it's 10 years, 7 years, whatever.
Is
Build
that
that
second-
schedule
excuse me.
so that you can do that. Be proactive about it.
Is that second truck that you're talking about available now?
Yes, they're both available, and they will hold them till after the first of the
Oh,
year.
they will? Okay.
Into February, if we agree that that's what we would like to do. As far as saving the money, an aerial truck, I went from, in 2006, our aerial truck was purchased at $740,000. To replace the truck right now is $1.4 million. You can't save fast enough, I'm afraid.
Well, you can absolutely save for it. You just gotta break it down and see what it's gonna be.
Right.
I mean, we need to have time to space it out. I mean, it's a lot easier to save $1 million, what did you say, $1.4 million? It's a lot easier to save $1.4 million over 10 years than it is to come up with $1.4 million tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, understand that, but you're dealing with 5 trucks frontline. This would put you 2 trucks in reserve, which is what we're trying to accomplish as far as when we have a truck broke down or truck out of service, we still have fire protection to all parts of the city. Also, as far as helping with our ISO rating.
Well, I think what both
No,
of them are saying is
I think we understand.
yeah,
each other.
we just need to be apprised of things before it comes to the point where it's a crisis situation.
Proactive, not
Yes,
reactive.
exactly.
Yeah, the goal of this council, I believe, was to start setting money back for fire trucks and ambulances, and we bought both, or getting ready to buy both. We
And
bought
police cars,
ambulances
and police cars. And we
and-
have a
right,
yeah.
now we're financing them. While we've got street department trucks
Right.
that do need replaced, and we're not doing that, so.
So, but
Just
we're
have to-
working on that, so.
Well, Rosemary, in our fund, would we have enough to make payments on the truck they just went and bought, plus
These two.
these two?
The truck that they picked up end of November is paid for out of Riverboat.
I thought that's what it was.
We are going to make our last payment on the 12 in November of next year. The payment is 47,000. We have budgeted 70,000. So we have about 23,000 extra that we can make a down payment. And as Troy mentioned, that we would like to finance it with payments arrears. So our first payment will be not 19, but in 20. Now, how many years will we spread that out? 5 years, 6, I don't know. But then after we get that payment, then we'll start saving that amount of that payment for whatever comes up next.
And what we was looking at, instead of financing 350 like we talked the last meeting, or the meeting before last, we'd be financing 230. So that will let you save more.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the delta is what we save.
Yeah. But I think that's what Troy's saying, is this is getting us to the place where
Yeah, I get that. I'm
we
just saying
start,
after
we can
this.
start doing it now. We got pretty good equipment.
Are you thinking about, well, the budget's already made, I would say upping the amount more than even 10. That's
We had already increased it
It didn't, okay.
by 23,000 to be able to pay some on if we needed new equipment.
Okay.
We did that, 2 years ago, Chad?
I don't remember.
2 or 3.
We upped it, you did, for that renew was,
There's 3, wasn't
I don't remember when we did it.
Several.
Okay.
I think it's the right thing to do.
I do
It's just,
too. Right.
it's just that we need to look in advance.
Be more proactive, right.
Right.
And we're not,
Oh, I understand.
yeah,
Well, I mean, you know, like you say, it's been so long, stuff's been kicked down the road.
when we came
And
in,
now
it
it
was
comes-
we had.
And now it comes the
from
time, now
everybody.
we're doing something about it anyway.
We've-
So maybe we're kicking the can, but maybe not as far, so.
it? We're moving forward.
We're
That's
picking
the
it
main
up and
thing.
carrying it
So,
rather than
yeah.
kicking it.
So anyway, so do I need a motion to approve it?
For additional, I would think. Because you're talking about additional money, right?
No, it's just financing it and coming out of the budget.
It's trading in one truck for 2 and then financing a possible 5 years.
So do we need a
And that's not
motion?
different than
Yes.
originally agreed on?
We haven't really agreed to anything
Okay.
else.
Okay, we need a motion.
So moved,
We have a motion in a
Okay,
second?
the motion is to buy the 2 trucks
yes,
Yeah,
with the trade-in
right.
right.
And the financing as
to
we discussed.
finance
Yes,
a possible 5 years.
yes.
I'll second that motion.
Payments would start when?
Hopefully in
First.
20.
20.
Okay. Okay, have a motion. Did we get a second?
Yes.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Did your homework. Thank you.
Thanks, Troy.
Okay, going down to miscellaneous business. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year coming up here. So have a safe Christmas and a safe New Year. Anybody else got anything?
I think that comes from everyone here.
Same thing, yes.
Okay,
Was there any more old, I said, anybody for some more old business?
we got some more old business? Or he's not old.
Try to keep this under a half hour. I know we've been here a long time.
We appreciate
That's
that.
right, without anybody.
So that's my ADA report, goals and accomplishments report. I have to present that to you once a year. So I had also sent all of you an email about the invite to the public meeting that is meant to answer questions and rally support for the local Connersville Downtown Historic District. As you remember, we had a designation of a historic district from the national, from the DNR, but that turned out to be largely symbolic. As once me and Dave started digging into it a little bit, it really didn't allow us to have any authority or do anything. So in other words, right now, if somebody decided to paint the building next door to you hot pink, we couldn't stop them.
Don't say that.
So we need to,
Yeah, you have to say that on television.
but we need, the truth is, we need to get this thing passed
Somebody will do
Yeah.
so that we can have sensible control. And this isn't meant to be real restrictive, but it just would stop the most extreme things from happening. Work with people.
You gave
So-
us a copy of the letter you sent to.
I emailed it to you.
Yeah.
That was a copy of what we mailed out to all the property owners.
And it says, ask if you're in support or opposition. How many responses
Just
did
a
you get?
handful.
And what was the
The
response?
people that were against it hurried up and mailed it back in. I think we've had maybe 5 or 6 no's and a few yeses. But we need 75 yeses or it fails. And if it fails, then our historic preservation commission's really largely mute, other than the park and the cemetery.
So how are you gonna go about getting the other 75?
So we have this meeting on the 19th, which is Wednesday at 6 over at the Trinity Episcopal Church to answer questions.
Historic place?
Is it 6 o'clock?
Yeah. And hopefully we can start building a little support for it to try to get it
Trinity.
passed over the next couple of months.
Excuse me, Brad, 6:30, you said?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Trinity.
And another thing too, we want to
Anybody
encourage,
that lives in the district that got a form, if you're okay with it, then go ahead and check off that you are and send your thing back in. And if you're not, come to the meeting and give us a chance to try to sell you on it.
What were the no's largely about?
Yeah, they just mailed them back in and we saw the response.
Just no.
I think people are fearful that we would be too restrictive on their properties, and I understand that, but that's not what we're out to do.
it's really to protect their properties.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And according to what I see, you emailed all this information to all of the council and all the board of works, so we should have copies of this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, is there any other miscellaneous? Okay, if not, we'll open it up to the public. Open it, would you like to come up and say anything?
Yeah.
Give your name and your address.
Alan Chapman, I live at 609 Beach. This has to do with a piece of property that I'm in the progress of buying off my brother, Brian Chapman. The other day he got something to the mail about there was some stuff stuck on a property. It's actually a vacant piece of land that the house was tore down, and I do have a couple of things stored down there, but evidently somebody's made a complaint. And when I called Dennis, he told me I should come down there and talk to you guys.
Okay, that's a Board of Works thing.
That's not us.
Carol, you got any idea on that?
I saw that a letter had went out, but I don't have any more information, or I'm sorry. If I didn't know, go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, the biggest thing that I'm concerned about is I don't want to get like timetable if I can't do something to make everybody happy. I don't want to get like a bill to him, fine, like, money or something.
We'll work with you. The next Board of Works meeting won't be until, the second week in January. So, we'll work with you. Just get with me. I'm working on your number.
All right, because I did talk to Dennis, and he actually told me to come down here, that's why I'm here, so.
It's all right. That's all right. He probably just wanted you to come down on TV.
Well, I learned some stuff too, so, I mean, I understand what these guys are talking about, where I work at, they're having troubles with people, keeping people there too, so I understand.
We wish
Okay.
more people from the public would attend our meeting.
All right, well, just get with Carol after the
I will
meeting.
do that. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else like to speak? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah.
Adjourn.